Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening, Emmanuel. Good evening, BB. Good evening, Isaac. Good evening, David, Joshua, Michael, Mona, Mahfouz, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Please let's reply.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. How was your day, Mona?
Went quite well.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Good evening, Isaac.
Yes, good evening. Good evening.
Good
How are you
evening.
doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Okay, so we're going to be starting, and congratulations for being one of the first people to join. Thank you for coming early. Thank you. And of course, we are all here because hopefully you are on the community, obviously, and you've seen the flyer for the webinar. And we're just going to be talking about how to start your journey into tech. Start journey into tech. So it's going to be a very chill conversation. Okay, not really a conversation, more like a talk, right? And it's going to be a free space, not like the regular things that we see online about coming into tech. When people talk about coding, programming, graphic design, UI UX design, and all of those things, right? It may seem like it's very broad. There are a lot of paths you could follow. There are a lot of things, and it seems like recently there's just a lot of pressure to go into tech. But the question is, where do you start from, right? Where do you start from? Which aspects fits your personality type and the things that you're interested in, and which ones are even lucrative? Which ones can you easily get into based on your background or whatever. So there must be a lot of questions on all of our minds, and we are here to help you. And that's the whole point of the community, right? Quiberry is not just a marketplace for African goods and services, especially where it is exclusive, but we're also a community for helping young people grow their businesses, find opportunities wherever they may be. So thank you for joining the community. And as the talk will be going on, we are advised or we're encouraged to send in questions. It can be something personal, maybe a question you've had for a long time, or it could be a question that came into mind as the talk is going on or as the presentation is going on. So you can just write those in the chat, in the group, in the community, or you could or you could keep them if you don't want to type them, if you want to say it yourself. Probably there'll be an opportunity for that, but most probably I think it would be better if we just like write our questions in the chat, so that at the end of everything we'll be able to discuss them. And so probably all of these things that you've seen online, the questions about where to start from, it could be questions that are specific to you about like your own direction in tech, the things you're interested in, the things you've heard, and all that. So it will be a very interesting time today. I would advise you to stay to the end. Yeah. So today the webinar will be taken by Daniel Idiare. Daniel Idiare is one of the founders of Quiberry, and he's also the founder of Vastiscape. I've been advised not to whine him so much today, but he's a serial entrepreneur, and that means he's someone who is very innovative and very committed to solving problems around him. And today it's just going to be a time to learn a lot from someone who has been learning a lot himself, and it's going to be a wealth of experience curated into one talk. So let's pay attention and let's try to get the most of it from someone who's doing well already for themselves. And I guess now I'm just going to give a word over to Daniel so we can start. Hi, Daniel. Good evening.
Hello, Evan. Good evening. Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate everything you've done so far. I mean, you've given the right intro, so that we can have a conversation here. Welcome, everybody. I'd like that we interact, and like Evan said, let us prepare our questions. If we have those questions, we can ask them in the group chat, even as I'm speaking, right? And by the end of this session, I want to go through my slides as fast as possible, possibly in 30 minutes, so that we can have nothing less than 20 minutes to ask questions and answer questions. Yeah, and the reason why I wanted to ask questions is because I feel there are people here who may be having specific things, right? So the topic is so broad that we may not be able to touch everything. Actually, we're going to fly through the various concepts, and then I'll give us sort of like templates to navigate our way, like general templates. So I want us to get to at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people with actual problems, specific problems that we can trash out, and people can also draw insights from those problems. Yeah. So one of the things that I find is very difficult, for a lot of people when it comes to learning and trying to understand concepts and doing stuff is that we try to put everything in one place, right? We try to classify everything into one particular group. We want to put everything in one particular place. And the best way to learn, the most effective way to learn is to start by defining things, right? Start with a definition, start by defining things. Now, I'm not going to start defining technology and journey and start. No. But there are some things I would like, that will specify what they are, right? So who's the developer? Who's a programmer? Who's a coder? Who's a designer? These are some terms I would like for us to define. And you would understand why I want us to define these terms as we progress, because, there is a way it affects, the way we relate with technology and the things we do here. So a developer is somebody who's interested in building products, right? I'll keep saying this. Now, these words can be used interchangeably. So you can say, okay, I'm a programmer, I'm a developer. Yes, that is because they're actually very related. So if there's one thing that's common among, at least the first 3 names here, right? First 3 nouns here, is that they write code at some point, right? So a developer, but there are differences. So a developer is somebody who's majorly interested in building products, right? They want to build products. So you see things like web developer, right? App developer. So web developer is building web applications, web solutions, right? An app developer is building applications, whether it's mobile applications, so on and so forth. A game developer is developing games. He's building something, right? So that's the first definition, the developer, right? A programmer is somebody who writes code. So the adjectives that we would use here would be probably some programming language, right? I'm a Python developer, Python programmer. I am a Python. Now you can say I'm a Python developer, right? But there's a difference in the approach. So when you say I'm a Python developer, you're saying I'm interested in building. I build products, right? And I build products with Python, right? But when you say I'm a Python programmer, you're saying I write code in Python. Now, for somebody who's a Python developer, of course, they're a Python programmer because they write code in Python, right? But the focus when you use the word developer is different now because you're saying I build programs, right? And the way you look at things is in relation to the products that you build and so on and so forth. So a coder is somebody who writes code, and a designer is somebody who designs. Now, designing is more about planning, right? So you plan things, you design your user interfaces and user experiences. So you plan them, and based on the data that you get. So design is more about planning. There are different areas that we can go to in tech, and I would like to shed more light on them, right? I actually, initially I had this at the later part of the slides, but I thought it was good to, go through this very quickly so that we can understand. I mean, for people who are not exposed to tech already, we can actually understand what, opportunities or fields there are, right, in technology. Now, the strongest fields, of course, will still be programming, right? Because in tech, you you need to build solutions, right? So when you are going into tech, it's about creating solutions. And these solutions are technological solutions. So solutions that will scale massively, right? Those are the kind of solutions that we are looking to build in technology. Not just any static landing page website, right? When you're talking about tech now, you're talking about solutions that scale, right? So the most important piece of building that solution will still be, to a very large extent, programming, right? In the development stages, programming is, of course, the most important, right? We will shed more light on this. But apart from programming, there are other things like design, marketing, right? That are very important in not just building the product now, right? Because you can build the product, but that's not where it stops in technology. In technology, you do much more than just build products, right? You sell those products to users. You sell those products to people who need them. A solution without users, or a solution without people who need that solution is no better than no solution, right? So in technology, even though we're building products that scale massively, we're also going to have to get these products to users. That's why other fields will come into play, like marketing, management, design, and game development, right? Game development is slightly different from just programming, because game development involves a lot much more than just programming. There is just too much in game development, right? So let's look at this very quickly, before I give my general template for starting your journey in technology. So programming, what does this encompass? It encompasses writing code, right? You probably need some programming language to start with. A lot of people start with Python, JavaScript, but then you can also go into C, C++, Java, right? Depending on how technical you want to get. You also need to learn some database framework. I mean, you can learn all of these to become a full stack developer, a full stack programmer, right? Or you can specialize in one particular area, right? You can specialize. So you can learn a programming language. You have to learn a programming language, of course, in programming. Then you can learn how databases work, right? How backend frameworks work, and then also how to build software. So there are other different spaces, like you can be someone who's just building software for companies. So these are not like web or mobile applications, just software that will make the working processes of, everything is software, but in this particular case, I'm talking about people who build things like bots, tracking software, analytics software, just simple software. There are people who go into building web applications, right? And they are web developers. Essentially, they would use the tools that are required for them to get the job done, the best tools, right? And then there are also mobile app developers who will go into mobile app development. Of course, they'll have to learn some programming language. For web development, of course, you need to know HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Even if you're not going to use them to build your web applications, you need to know them. You need to understand them, mostly when it comes to diagnosis, right? You need to understand it so that when you go into your console, your browser is showing you stuff. It's going to render a lot of this in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And yeah, a lot of the other frameworks also compiled onto JavaScript. And then mobile app development, you can also do that. And then there's also this very interesting one, blockchain technology, right? You can learn how to code in Solidity and other languages, right? There's also design. And design, what do we do? Like I said, we plan, we design, we plan, we strategize, we look for data to influence our decision-making process, our design-making process. Now, there are web developers and there are web designers. So, even though they really sound alike, it's like web developer, web designer, what's the difference? So, web developers, like I said, they build product, right? And web designers, they are tasked with building the interface, right? The experience for that particular website. So they design it. In most cases, in some cases, the web developer and the web designer is just one person, right? So there's no need to put yourself in a box. You can be fulfilling all of these different roles. So you're both in charge of designing the web and then also developing it. And then you can also design user interfaces, user experiences. You can, design using, illustration programs. You can also go into graphic design. This is also very needed for social media posts, for marketing. Design is one very broad part that affects lots of things. From branding, for example, you need to understand how to brand your product, to designing experiences that would help the users find your products and also use them efficiently. Yes. If your users don't know how to use your products efficiently, they will not maximize it. And you also will not be able to maximize profit on it. So there has to be some design process alongside this. Right. So another one is marketing. So marketing, it's actually very clear. I think we understand to an extent what marketing does, what a marketer would typically do. So in this place, we have copywriters, editors, search engine optimizers, and brand managers. Now, what they do here is, they're taking all of the things that the other part of the team have already put together. So there's design, right? There's product to sell. There's just everything. Now, they are in charge of communicating the message to the final user, right? So even though the designer is optimizing for and the in charge of building the product, the person who's going to take the product to the final user is the marketer. So they need to communicate the message. If your potential users will not use your product, then you don't have your product. You're not going to sell. So that's the thing. Your marketers will, of course, take the product to market. And there's a huge demand here. There's huge demand here. You can also do management, right? Management, business analytics, project manager, operations manager, finance manager. This is more administrative. And this is usually not really needed in the early stages of a company, right? It will be needed as the company begins to scale and grow. But there's a lot of opportunity here, right? For people who are looking to manage businesses. So you can maybe get a degree in business analytics, you can become an operations manager, and then you work in a tech company, right? There's also game development. There's game development. So you have 3D generalists, game designers, 3D painters, sports manager. Now, sports manager will be typical for a sports kind of game, and the person will be in charge of, getting the people who are going to model for the game so that they can read the different things to get together and put things together, right? They should understand how the human physiology and anatomy works, and so that it looks real when it's rendered. You can also become a Unity developer. Unity is very popular for game development. So let us go into the actual details. How do you start your journey in tech? So what I've successfully done is introduce us into some career areas, career paths, right, in technology. So how do you start? I just mentioned some things. Now, if I stop here, I'm sure somebody may should have gotten something, right? Somebody should have gotten something, because you now know that you now know more career paths in technology than you knew before. But how exactly do you go about it? Now, you see here, there are 2 destination points, right? So first thing I'll say is, and I always keep saying it whenever I want to talk about journeys, is you need to understand where you are and you need to understand where you're going to. And you can now figure out the rest of the journey as we go on, right? So you need to know where you are, and then you need to know where you're going to. You can figure out the journey as we progress. So the first thing you need to do, it's also part of figuring where you are, is to understand what your intentions are for going into technology, right? Is to understand what your intentions are for going into technology. So why do you want to go into technology? Because it's going to affect what you should be looking for in the first place, right? It's going to always affect it. And one of the reasons why people make the wrong match when they're trying to search for a career in tech is that they do not answer these very vital questions, right? They do not answer these very vital questions. So do you want to go into technology because it's a cool profession? Now, these reasons here, they're not entirely wrong reasons, right? But some are weaker than others. So if you have maybe one of these reasons, I'm not judging you. Like the reasons here are not bad. Some of them are actually very strong, and some of them are weak, right? And one thing I'll say before I go on to analyze each of these points is that if your if you find out that your reasons are not so strong, I think what you should be doing is reanalyzing, right? Do I really want this? And then if you decide that you want it, I think what you should do then is support your weak reasons with stronger reasons, right? So that it makes all the while for you, right? So you want to go into technology because it's a cool profession. So you hear all this news about people doing different things in tech and you feel it's the path for you. Could be a valid reason, but not a really strong reason, right? I like something related to this. Now, a very good example would be game development. So I like playing games. I should probably become a game developer. Does that work? No, because game development is different from playing games, right? In game development, you don't play games, except you're a tester. So if you're a tester, like you test games, it can actually work, and they're professional testers, trust me. But if you're looking to actually build the game, the fact that you play games does not guarantee that you will enjoy that you'll enjoy developing games, because there's a lot of stress that goes into developing games. There's programming, there's also so many other things, and in fact, the game development industry is one of the most stressful ones. So when you ask yourself, is it just because I like something related to this? I have a personal interest. I think this is a very strong reason because it's there, it's internal, right? But then you also want to check, what's your motivation coming from? What's the basis of your motivation? Was it a childhood dream, right? And how committed are you to this childhood dream? It's in vogue. This is somehow similar to the cool profession thingy, but this one is now more extrinsic. So you're looking out for your friends, right, who are in technology, and you're like, I think I need to be here. So because other people are doing it, you want to do it. I mean, this is a very, very weak reason, right? Very weak reason. But if you have friends who are close to you and they're into technology, and you feel that I can work with this person to develop something in tech, right? I think that should now be a supporting reason. The next point should be a better reason, right? Opportunity to gain money, fame, or something, right? So you actually want to achieve something with the opportunity that's available. So it's in vogue, and there's all the opportunities, and then you want to now gain something, right? But this opportunity thing, you have to be, it's another steep hole, right? Because you have to be careful what exactly you're looking for in this opportunity. Are you looking for the opportunity to gain money, right? Are you looking for the opportunity to gain fame? Or are you looking for the opportunity to gain another hobby? Because there are people who are interested in tech and all they want to do is write pieces of write code that will help them with their daily tasks, and they just want to do it as a hobby. So anytime I feel like it, I will write code, and when I don't feel like it, I will not write code. If you go to work in a startup or in a company, please drop that mentality, because you will need to be working a lot, right? I doubt your employers will tolerate it. They will give you deadlines. They will want you to meet up. So if you need to question exactly what your intentions are. Do you just want it as another hobby, or do you actually want it because you want to achieve something? So you want to make money. It's a very valid reason. Trust me. You want to be famous. Now, these are valid reasons, but they're not as strong as some other reasons, like I want to create solution, right? So the opportunity to create solution is another very strong reason, right? Because you can always guarantee that the product you build will be accepted by the public, by the users out there. So I think what you'll be doing when your only motivation is to get money is you'll be jumping from maybe one area in tech to another area. So you'll be looking for things like blockchain technology because of the money that you sort of see around it. And then when you go there and it doesn't work out, you're disappointed. So you need to question, what exactly are my intentions? Freedom. So there are people who think that working in tech will give them freedom. I've talked a lot about programming, right? There are people who think, okay, if I work in tech, I can work remote, right? That's another thing, work remotely. So as a result, I will have freedom. I'll have a lot of time. That's a very valid reason. You want to change your career path. You're not comfortable with going to work every day, and then you want to try something that will give you more freedom and more flexibility in your schedule. I think that's very valid. I've always wanted this. I mean, this one is, of course, strong, but you need to be careful here too. I'll put a small sign to this. If you've always wanted this, why have you not started? All right. So you also want to watch out what's making you procrastinate. People say procrastination is postponing something that you're supposed to be doing now to a later time simply because you don't want to do it. I mean, that's the most likely reason. So if you've always wanted this, why have you not started till now? Maybe you've not just found the right materials. Okay, then I give you a thumbs up. It's good you're here. But you need to question exactly what your intentions are. This is the most important thing. Please question your intentions. Now, you may not find one specific answer. I mean, there may be more than one intention that you have, but just sort of gauge it, right? Try to understand what exactly is motivating me to go into technology. It will help you with the next phase, which is learning, right? You will know exactly what to learn. But I divided this into two, learning wide and learning narrow. So learning wide, what exactly do I mean here? What I mean is you want to expose your mind to technology overall. And this is going to be very important for people who are in technology. I mean, irrespective of the field you want to go into now, irrespective of the decision that you're going to make in the future or you've made, right? You want to expose your mind to the diversity of technology. Learn how code works, at least. Even if you're going to go into, for example, management or product design or something, learn how code works with Python or JavaScript. Now, you don't need to remember the syntax, right? You don't need to remember the syntax, trust me. You don't need to remember that this is how to write the code, right? Most especially if you don't see a career in writing code as a programmer, right? You don't necessarily need to remember all those things, right? All you need to do is learn at least one programming language in your lifetime that explains to you how code works so that you can see the dynamics of working code, right? It's very important, irrespective of the field you're going into. I think it's one thing that everybody should learn, right? Because it teaches you a lot about programmatic thinking, algorithms, and so on and so forth. And see, the most interesting thing with technology is not just the code that you write. It's the way you think to solve problems. It's the way you think algorithmically. It's the way you think strategically to solve problems. You're thinking how to make something very efficient. That's the beautiful thing about it. Learn broadly about the internet. So there's like so many things you can learn on the internet: SEO, security and hacking, Web 1.0, 2.0, 2.0, that's blockchain technology. Learn about technology. Be enthusiastic about it. Learn wide. Learn how to build fast. Now, this is actually very interesting. I think everybody should learn something like this, right? So learn how to build products fast. Now, what do I mean? Learn how to build products fast. And in this case, most times it would typically involve you using some quick frameworks to launch your idea and test it, right? Even if you're a programmer, even if you're looking to program tomorrow, like you want to build software that's written with code, in fact, in C++ or assembly language, right? I think it's very important that you learn how to build products fast with simple tools like Webflow, for example. I'm a very ardent preacher of learning how to build tools, build very fast. Even if you're not going to be a web developer, remember what we define the web developer as: somebody who's interested in building products. Learn how to build fast. Learn how to build fast. But most especially if you're going to be a web developer or somebody who is going to build products, you know what it does? It teaches you how to think, right? It teaches you how to think. Writing code can come later. You can always Google it. You can always check the documentation, how to implement it. What you want to do with learning how to build fast is training your mind how to think, right? So it's going to be easier for somebody who has, for example, handled a Shopify website to build an e-commerce website with code than somebody who has not, right? The person who has not built anything before is going to be thinking, what do I need to add here? What do I need to add here? But somebody who has worked with Shopify before would already know, what it takes for an e-commerce website to be successful, right? So it's very important that you learn how to build fast. I mean, regardless of the software you use, right? I mean, even if you do not make use of these tools, just understand what it takes to build a product fast. Then another thing is this: don't tie yourself down. When you're learning wide, what you're trying to do is you're trying to survey the market, right? So don't tie yourself down to one particular topic or one particular field, one particular area. No, spread wide. Spread wide. I think it's also like the same thing. Be dynamic. Remember, there's no rules to this. It's in the same direction. Spread yourself wide and try to learn right? If it's AWS, if it's Google Cloud, I've worked with a lot of these tools. And the reason why I worked with a lot of these tools is just because I could, right? Be enthusiastic about learning about new products. So if you're bored, try AWS. Now they're going to charge your card and they're going to tell you used so many things. But I mean, there are simple ways to get credits from AWS, and most especially if you're really interested in creating a startup of your own, right? Break things, right? So go to Google Cloud, create a new email, try things out. They usually give this free trial. So take advantage of those free trials to learn how these products work. For example, Shopify. If you wanted to learn how an e-commerce site should work, you wanted to see one in action from the back end, you could go to Shopify and take advantage of their 14-day free trial, and then look at how an e-commerce website should be set up, and then you understand it better. So that when somebody calls you tomorrow to build an e-commerce website for them, you're not scared. You already understand what should be there, and it's easy for you to build it. So learn how to use different tools. Learn wide. Don't tie yourself down. Even if you are just in programming, right? Learn how people design stuff. Even if you're not going to design, just learn how it works on surface level. And then the most useful resources for this kind of wide learning would be YouTube, right? I mean, YouTube is the boss here. Udemy is there because you can get some free and cheap courses. But I think YouTube is the boss because you can subscribe to channels. You can get those videos in your feed every now and then. So learn wide. Next thing is learn narrow, right? So this one is actually very important. It's very important that you learn how to do this. The reason is because when it comes to learning narrow, right? You need to, when it comes to learning narrow, you are now, you're focusing in one particular learning path, right? And it's very important that you take advantage of platforms, right? Why? Because you are not only, you don't know what you have to learn, right? So you know you want to become a product manager, but what do I need to know to become a product manager? You probably don't know, right? You don't know how the curriculum is set up. So it's not like you can go to YouTube and then just watch the first video and then watch the second video. I mean, you don't know those keywords to search out for. It's only after you've spent some years in the industry that you can now understand, how these things work and what you should be looking for, right? So you probably don't know, you don't have a path yet. So get one on Udacity, on Coursera, or any other free platform that will offer access to courses like this. Fast-Escape will be launching some channels, some new cohorts and sessions next month. You can take advantage of those. The beauty about this is it's strict, right? And it's already arranged for you. So you already have the courses arranged, the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. And then you want to set goals. You want to be strategic about the goals you set for these particular courses. I want to finish this in 2 months. I want to finish this in 3 months. And it's going to be very easy for you that way. And then you do the next point, which is do, right? You need to be doing something. The best way to learn is through active learning, right? It's through active learning. And what do I mean by active learning? Active learning is simply doing something and learning from something you're doing, right? So you see the last point here, it says continue learning. You're never actually going to stop learning, right? So while you're doing this point, you're still learning, but you want to move from this stage, these 2 stages, to this stage as fast as possible. And guess how fast you should be? And as fast as 1 day, shouldn't be more than 1 week, right? The moment you make up your mind, now you can take 2 weeks, 3 weeks to make up your mind, right? Or when you start, pursuing this. I mean, if you want it urgently, you can start in 1 day, right? But I think you can start building something as fast as 1 day. Tomorrow, you can watch a simple video on how to write a program in Python, and then you can start doing something in Python already from tomorrow, right? So you need to do. You need to build a startup or a small project. Now, if you're not interested in building a startup, I think you can either work in one or you can just launch a small project, right? Building a startup teaches you more than just one specific career path, because there are lots of things that you'll now be exposed to, like marketing, design, and so on and so forth. And if you don't have people on your team handling those things, you have to do them. You'll be forced to do them. So rather than if you are sure that you want to focus on one career path, like you don't want to go into building startups and stuff, you just want to do maybe programming or marketing. It's either you join a small project, small startup that's already existing, and then you can work with them and gain skill and experience from there. Don't ask them for money. You're still learning, for Christ's sake, right? Tell them you want to just and please, when you go to people to make these offers, have something on your plate already. So maybe it's like you already understand how design works now, and then you're looking for an actual business to work with to practice your skills, right? Before you get to that level where you can work in a startup, you can work in a small project, right? You can build your own small project, or you can work with a set of people. Say, for example, you're in marketing. You probably don't want to build your own small project. So you can find somebody who's doing a small project and then just experiment with the marketing. Enjoy the process and take it easy. Yes, enjoy the process. Take it easy. Enjoy the process. Take it easy. That's one thing you should not underestimate, because you're actually looking to change careers. So what's the benefit if you are changing careers to something you're not enjoying, right? So please enjoy the process, take it easy, and then continue learning. Explore. This is actually very important, right? Because as we all are here now, I can guarantee you that if you have not tried something, right, you are not sure whether you like it or not. Now, it may look like you like it from the outside, but you're not sure. So do not be afraid to explore. That's one of the barriers I see people face. This is actually very important. So people are waiting to be sure that they want something before they try it out. No, try it out. Then if you're sure you don't want it, then move your hand. So you're thinking, am I sure I'm going to like marketing? Expose yourself to marketing. If you don't like it, you stop. Am I sure I'm going to like data science, for example? Expose yourself to data science. And if you don't like it, you can always change, right? Am I sure I'm going to like writing code, Python and the rest? Expose yourself to Python. Do something in Python. If you don't like it, you can move. But I think what we have at the back of my mind sometimes is the moment I say I'm taking a Python course, right? If I don't finish this Python course, I am a failure. But that's not true. You can start a Python course and choose not to finish it because it's no longer, you found out that it's no longer, it's not of interest for you. You're not enjoying it. So you need something else, right? You started something in product. You need to, you want to learn how to build stuff, but then design thing is not your thing. Just try. Now, I'll put a warning here, right? There actually supposed to be two warnings. So first warning is that you should try to make up your mind as soon as possible. And then the second warning is, as soon as you make up your mind, please stick to it, right? When I say explore, the method of exploring is this, right? That you look at the job that you're doing, right? You look at the thing that you're doing, that it entails, right? Writing code, designing software and stuff like that. You look at it and then you try to imagine in 10 years from time, if this is what I'm doing as my full-time job, am I going to enjoy it? Now, of course, it's going to be painful to get to those 10 years, right? It may be painful to watch, you may not be understanding the programming immediately, right? That's not a good reason to quit. The only reason to quit should be, do I really see myself doing this in the future, right? So it's sort of complicated there, but you really need to understand when it's just a normal pain that you should feel as against something that you know you're not going to enjoy at all in the future, right? So you know you're going to enjoy this thing, but right now it feels painful. You need to sort of like persevere. There's some perseverance that you need to be disciplined. You need to keep to it. Yeah, there's a balance to that. But if you're sure that even if I become the boss of this thing, I'm still not going to enjoy doing it. I mean, you're always procrastinating. You're always changing your mind. You want to watch out for those signs and try to avoid it. All right. So try to make up your mind as soon as possible. Do not be stuck in one place, right? You want to try rather than taking 1 week to think about the career path to take. What if you could try or expose yourself to different career paths in that same 1 week? And now you are more informed, right, about what it takes to succeed in a career path. And now you can decide, right? The person who waited 1 week is probably going to make a decision but an uninformed decision, and will still end up regretting. And then because they spent 1 week to take this decision, they would think that, oh, I've taken the decision already, I cannot go back. No. You can always change your mind. So do not be stuck. Right. So I think that's about it. Thank you very much. So if you have any questions, I think you can take these questions. Anybody writing anything in the group so far?
Okay, I feel people probably forgot about the questions, but in case you forgot about it, I think this is the best time for you to just like write.
Yeah, you can
then
just
chat.
you can unmute yourself and then we chat, talk about the question.
Yeah. Okay, but while we wait for the questions, I just wanted to say, like, I could totally relate, like, with most of the things you were saying, especially like with getting into tech. Like, I've had my own journey, cause okay, to be honest, like I found myself in it like slow China, like by mistake, right? Cause I started with content writing, like just generally, and it was just like here and there, like freelancing, and then like as time went on, I started writing copy for some people, like probably on one of projects or something like that. And I did not even know that that was marketing. I did not even know that I was in tech, right? And I found myself learning a lot of things by the way, social media, search engine optimization, branding on social media, sales, convincing, converting, all of those things. And because I did not even know that that was tech, like I was just doing all of these things like by the side. I wanted to like really go into UI UX design because I just, I guess my reason was like it's just like cool and I wanted to design. So I started learning, and eventually like I stopped at some points because first of all, I think the mistake, like you were explaining about not making your mind up on time. Somebody was asking in the chat when you said one day. Yeah, I believe that's very important, like to make up your mind as soon as possible, because I spent so much time learning and relearning the same thing about UI UX. Like I kept going over the same things and I didn't realize that it was already time to, move on and start doing something. And when I eventually started working on it, I realized that okay, it was stressful. I did not actually have a good I think I didn't have a good laptop. I just realized that it wasn't for me, that kind of stuff. And probably I'll go back to it maybe if I eventually find a stronger reason, like you said. But I think it's just very important to start doing something as soon as possible. I'm not waiting like to just learn, because you can like action fake, like think you're actually making progress, learning so many things, and eventually you are doing nothing, like you're not getting anywhere. And there is also the place of discipline and commitment, right? And goes back to your intentions. If you don't have a strong enough intention for wanting to go into it, like it will fade off eventually, because you'll find yourself like your interest will fade after some time, or you find it like increasing maybe after you got some motivation from seeing something cool, and then it goes away again when you find like yourself in your normal day-to-day. So it's something you should really think about, and once you make the decision to go into it, like really go into it like with all of your with all of your mind and body. Yeah. And you also said something that resonated with me about learning how code works, like learning widely generally. Because when I was learning UI UX, I realized that it's very important to know how like the prototypes you are designing will actually be converted into code, and it helps like you working with other people in tech. Because when you're working in tech, you're working with like different people. Like it's not just like you and you alone. So it's just important to learn how to communicate, and it's good when you just have like that general understanding of how things work. Yeah. So I think for now, there's a question on the group. Odinaka, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, is asking what are the red flags to consider before going into tech.
All right. Thank you
Daniel.
very much, Evelyn. You gave a very wonderful summary. Really appreciate that. Before I go on to answer this question, I also want to make one more point that do not be attached to your tools, right? In the same way, you should not be attached to one particular area in tech, right? I see some people already, until you make it your own profession, do not go and write in your bio UI UX designer because you started a course on UI UX design. So you've already attached that to your name and you're not even sure if you want to be there. right? So don't be attached to the profession until you're sure, but even more so, do not be attached to the tools, right? You can describe yourself with tools. So I'm a Python developer for the sake of an interview. So somebody needs a Python developer. So you can say, okay, I'm a Python developer, but do not brand that as your only, identity. When you're out there, be as diverse as possible. And even when you're creating your CVs, for example, it's always advised that you have multiple CVs, right? You create a new CV for each application. So do not be tied down to one particular area in tech. I mean, it's good to specialize, of course, but do not be fanatic for one particular tool. So about this, what are the red flags to consider before going into tech? I think what you're saying is, red flags are like deterrent, right? Red flags are saying don't come. So what are the red flags to consider before going into tech? I think what you're trying to say is, what should I look out for, right? Or maybe you can correct me. What should I look out for to know whether tech is for me or not, right? Or I think the second way it could be interpreted is, what are the hard things I need to consider before I go into tech, so that I can anticipate them. Like Evan rightly mentioned, I think you should, if you're going to be doing something on your laptop, which you most likely will because you're working remote, you would probably need a good laptop, right? So that's one thing. You would need a good laptop. So if you don't have a good laptop yet, or a good laptop is very basic. It could just be 8 gigabytes of RAM, or maybe even 6 gigabytes, but something that would serve you well, so that you do not run into problems when you are now trying to write code, compile code, design and stuff. Now you can start with anything you have. So, there are people who start off with design on their phone. What's important is the knowledge, not the tool. So if you start off with design using maybe Pixel Lab on your iPhone or Android, right, you can now move into maybe Photoshop tomorrow. And see, nobody's going to be concerned whether or not you use the phone to do the design. It's about the final work, right? So, but you need to also understand that you will need a laptop if you're going to be doing development. If you're going to be developing for iOS, for example, you would most likely need a MacBook, right? I think there are tools that allow you to deploy to iOS without having a MacBook now. You can search out for those, but those ones still require you to pay. So it's something that you should look out for. Another thing is, there's a lot of work involved in technology, right? Mostly when you're writing code, right? If you're going to be a programmer, you're going to have to be very patient. Programmers are very patient people. Debugging and going through different lines of code, going through documentation, right? Watching videos for long hours, sitting down to work on one project for long hours. You're going to learn how to imbibe that, right? So you need to be aware that programming can frustrate you, right? But then at the end of the day, when you see your final product, you are proud of yourself, you're happy, there's this dopamine release, and you're glad, right? But you need to understand that it's a lot of work too, right? It's not just something you wish and then it comes to pass, right? Another thing, the difficulties you face, you're also going to have to learn how to control time, manage your time properly so that you do not find yourself, segregated from other people and stuff, right? Because it's actually going to affect you in some ways if you do not consider that ahead of time, right? So which other thing should I think I've pointed out some of the things you need to consider. The other problems that I can actually think of are more specific to the field. So if maybe you have a field in mind that you want us to shed more light on, right? Then you can shed more light and we would analyze those fields specifically. Also, you can go online there's something I didn't mention. You can actually look for opportunities in different fields. So I think there are tools out there that will tell you how much these skills are in demand. So for example, I think JavaScript developers are always, in demand. Python developers are also there. Then C++, C#, C++, I think. So then I think in some other fields, UI UX designers would also be in demand. So you can check out for these different fields to know which ones have the most opportunity. But I would say, do not just look at these statistics. Try to be the best person in your field, right? Try to be the best person in your field, right? And irrespective of the demand there, you would always find your niche. How do you come up with new project ideas? Coming up with new project ideas, this is actually very simple. I mean, it's simpler than anything, but it comes systematically, right? So start from your surroundings, start from your environment. Look for problems that people have around you, and then try to solve them. Be interested in those problems and then solve them. Do not start with the big problems, except you already have a well made up, a well thought out business idea, right? Do not start with the big problems. Start with the small ones, right? Think through these small problems and think in terms of solutions, not problems. So, think in terms of solutions, not problems, right? You want to think, how do I solve this particular thing for this person, right? How do I solve it? How do I make this easier? How do I make it better with technology? Now, the key word here is technology. So you want to be very particular. Look for something around you in health, in business, in your school, that is still being done with paper, pencil, brick and mortar systems, right? And then think about creative ways to make these things more efficient with technology, with code. So that's it. That's one place to start from. So there are two different parts here. You can actually have innovation horizontally or vertically. So vertical innovation, they say, is more about coming up with new crazy ideas, and these ones usually come one in a lifetime. But a lot of the problems you solve are actually vertical, are actually horizontal. So what this means is that you are spreading out. So this is something that has probably been implemented by somebody already, but then you're not looking for a way to implement it, right? If it's too simple, build an e-commerce store. It will teach you a lot than doing nothing, right? People have built e-commerce stores everywhere, but working on that one project is going to help you with some of the thinking processes you need to solve problems. And this time now you're building it yourself. So it's not just any e-commerce store, it's the one you build, right? Look for other things that people have done. Try to do it more efficiently, or at least you do it the barest minimum. So that's it. The another thing is, where does the total dummy in tech start from? We have just about 5 minutes left, so maybe if we have questions later, we can go on to answer them, or maybe in another session. I think this may be the last question we'll take. Where does the total dummy start from in tech? Where does the total dummy in tech start from? Now, like we talked about here, I think we talked about this is who this whole talk was meant for. So we actually addressed this. The first thing you need to do is learn wide, right? Learn wide. Where do you start from? Where exactly? What is the first video I should watch? Well, it's not exactly specific, right? I mean, you cannot just watch one video and in 1 week. See, a total domain text. I mean, you cannot watch one video and expect to know everything in 1 week, right? Because you don't know anything about tech yet. So start with one. Start with any video. Try to understand it. Start with the basic video. Try to understand it. There are videos you can see online that will tell you how to program. Start with Python, for example, right? Start with Python. Learn to think algorithmically. So start with Python, and you can watch a Python tutorial for free on YouTube. You can also register on Udemy, right? And watch a free tutorial there. So those are places to start from. If you're not interested in programming, for example, you want to be more interested in you want to go into design, then start with a simple video on design concept, right? Pick something, start with something, expose yourself, learn wide. That's the major thing I have to say. Learn wide. And there are forums that actually make these things accessible. So for example, I think we collaborated GeekReads on Quiberry with GeekReads. They are launching different programs, right, for people who are looking to move into technology. So I mentioned Vastiscape is doing something. I mentioned GeekReads now. So I think they have some programs they'll share with you, and if they're flyers, you can actually look through them, and if it's something of interest to you, you can sign up and make the best out of it. And there are also some other programs. I think there was a time I launched BWWC for people who are looking to go into technology. I think, I don't know, it's still under question because I'm still wondering. There's still a lot of work to do with that, but I might release, on-demand videos for, tech, and it's not going to be free. It's going to cost something very small. So that may be another good way to start. I mean, there are different places to start from, so you're not limited to the options that you have to start. The most important thing is that you start. So that's it. I don't know if you have any more questions. I said we can't take any more questions, but we still have 2 minutes left. So what do we do with the 2 minutes, Evan? Or can we go now?
Okay, I don't know if there's going to be another question, but if there's no question, okay, let me just ask. Generally, I feel someone might be wondering, like, if talent has any role to play. For example, in design, like maybe they may feel like having an eye for detail, color use, all of those things, like if it really plays a huge role. Because some people just feel like maybe I'm just not the kind of person for this because I don't have the talent, right? So what do you think about that?
I don't think talent has anything to do with this. Why? Because it's all about learning how it works. Now, why is it that for some people it's easier for them to go into UI UX design than it is for other people? They probably have an eye for design before now, right? They probably knew how to match colors in clothes, or maybe they knew how to, they knew it from somewhere. They had experience with colors before now, so they knew how it worked, and it became very easy for them to match these colors. But the truth is, everything's already laid out. So if you wanted to go into UI UX design, for example, there's this Google, I think it's Material UI. They lay out principles for design, right? And then there's also Apple. Apple has their recommendations for building layouts. All of these things is all about reading. Read, you understand, you assimilate, and then you apply. So everything has already been laid out. In fact, when you are going to be a UI UX designer, not a researcher now, because there are also UI UX researchers. These are people who are trying to learn. So they're trying to learn new ways of doing things. So they're going to have to study people, look at the data, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's totally different. But when you're a UI UX designer, everything has been laid out for you. It's not about creativity. Everything has been laid out. Except maybe you just woke up and decided to use Figma, and now you have to think through everything yourself. That's why I say don't do that. Please follow a course or a module, because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't even know that you don't know it, right? So follow a module, please, right? So these things have already been laid out, and all you need to do is learn them, right? The moment you learn them, you understand that I should have padding of so and so here. The color contrast should be properly contrasted. I mean, there are even tools to measure contrast in designs, right? So even if you're half blind, sorry to say, pardon the expression, but even if you're colorblind, right, you can use these tools to measure the contrast, to measure different things. So this is technology here. Everything is laid out, except you're going into research. Everything is laid out. There's room for creativity, right? But it's not so much as starting from scratch. There are templates, there are recommendations, everything has been laid out already. So it has almost nothing to do with talent. Even when it comes to programming, right? Sure, maybe somebody has had experience with thinking algorithmically from when they were young, and so their neurons, right, have already adapted to that style of thinking. You only adapt, don't worry. Start from where you are, right? Don't look at other people. You will actually get there. So I think it has almost nothing to do with talent.
All right, thank you very much. And I also wanted to add, if anyone is interested, like maybe you've learned wide and you just feel like you're interested in marketing, maybe copywriting or content writing, you can write me, or you can, I don't know, look for a way to write me. Then probably will open like an opportunity for you to work, of course, like Daniel said, like on a, how do I explain this now? You won't get paid, obviously. Like you're working for free, but you're learning in the process, and you're just getting like directions to get into copywriting or content writing, especially for Quiberry. And if you have any other questions, you can always write in the group or write any of us personally. And let us know if you'd like maybe a follow-up session on tech, and probably we'll create a poll as time goes on, like to know which other topics you're interested in. Thank you very much to everybody that joined. It was really a nice time that we spent together today. Don't forget, start early, start now, start working on something, question your intentions, and yeah, all the best. Thank you very much. Thank you, Daniel. Bye, everyone.
Thank you to Evelyn. Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.